Welcome in all of my average runners to another most average impressions and thoughts video. Now today, what we're going to talk about, well, I mean, obviously we're going to be talking about Marathon, but what we're really going to be specifically talking about is what I fear is Marathon's identity crisis. And the fact that Bungie doesn't really want to seem to stick with a vision and go forth with it. I think Bungie's kind of stuck between what it wants to be and what it keeps reading on Reddit, and that's a problem. Like, listen, I do believe that listening to the community is a big part of it, and I think it's commendable and really what developers should be doing to an extent. All right, if you're trying to make everybody happy, you're gonna end up making nobody happy, and I think that's kind of where we're at right now. The main thing I really want to talk about is the direction that I hope Bungie goes with Marathon. I understand that they're in a bit of a different position, because I think when Marathon was first created, wasn't meant to be like the main workhorse, the main driving force of income for Bungie. That was supposed to always be Destiny. I'm pretty sure. I think Destiny coming to an end was tragic. Obviously, like, I love Destiny. I think it was a little bit unexpected, and losing half of their workforce also was probably a bit of a gut jab. You know, for anyone else out there that enjoys Marathon as much as I do, is pretty much addicted to it, plays it every single day. I can see some of you guys worried out there. I know I'm a little worried. All right, none of us are ignorant what the numbers are. All right, the Steam chart numbers aren't great, but I do think that Bungie needs to stick to its guns. I think at the foundation, at the core of Marathon, they created a PvP first game. And I think that they need to stick with PvP focused. I mean, in all of the limited time events, just about all of them have been more centered around PvE. And I get that, because they want to bring in more people. They want to bring in casual people. But I think they need to bring in more casual PvP players and less PvE players. I don't think they're not going to ever regain the Destiny audience back. Like, that community has already moved on and looking for something else to satisfy that fix. And it's not going to be Marathon. Now, with that being said, I do think Vault Breakers was a great idea. I think it's a great way for people to go in, get their feet wet and learn cryo without having to get, completely shit stomped every single time while trying to learn cryo. With us talking about the identity crisis and the direction that I want to see Marathon go, or I hope to see Marathon go, I think we really need to talk about Season 3. I think Season 3 is going to be a big season for Marathon on whether or not it gets the lifeblood that we need. If we're gonna get any big push, I think it's gonna be in Season 3. I didn't expect Season 2 to bring a whole lot of players, with everything that was going on in the background and stuff like that. But Season 3, I think, is a time that they really need to buckle down and make something happen. One thing I'd like to see is, like I said, let's try and pivot more into PvP and creating PvP modes that cycle back into the main extraction mode. I think that this game is an extraction shooter, and everything should tie back into its main mode. I do think seeing things that Bungie's always been great at, seeing returns of classics like Slayer, but do a remix to it. Make it team based or solo based. That's fine. Solo, duo, trios, but basically get like a POI, some of the better POIs, and just set like 3 teams or 6 individuals out there, and do, basically make it so you can use the loot that you've extracted in the main game mode, but you're not at risk of losing it. I think that's something that people, because I think gear fear is a big part of it. I know people that have completely full vaults and still are hesitant to bring in gear because they're afraid of losing it. So gear fear is real, and I think a way around that is giving PvP modes so people can get used to the guns, used to the PvP encounters, without having to fear losing it. So they can, really put their all into it instead of having to play cautiously all the time. I think 2 good examples, or 2 good games that they could follow the example of. One will stick to an extraction shooter, and I think at its core, this game most resembles this extraction shooter. I think if you took away the loot pool, this extraction shooter would almost exactly be like Hunt Showdown. Hunt Showdown is an extraction shooter that doesn't really focus on the loot. You gear up before you go into runs, and the main focus is the PvP, because you're all hunting the same main PvE boss or monster on the map. And I think with the way that the PvE events in runs are set up, the way the events happen, and the way the PvP is set up, I think if you took the loot pool away or shrunk the loot pool, which I do think is something that to happen. I think this would almost be exactly like on Showdown in many obviously different aesthetics and gunplay and stuff like that, sure. And then the other one would be Apex Legends. I know it's a completely different genre, but battle royale and extraction shooters are very similar in a lot of ways. And I think Apex does a really good job of creating events and modes and things like that that bolster what the main battle royale is already doing, by keeping it around fun, creative ways of doing PvP. So I think, you know, bringing old modes back, like capture the flag, like bomb defusal, like hide and seek, you know, things like this can be fun, creative game modes, but still can all tie back into the main extraction mode. And I think if they try to swing too hard into the PvE, they're going to basically alienate the core audience that has stuck around since day one. I do think that shells, basically from beginning to end, need a rework. I am working on a video right now, so, you know, stay tuned on how I would personally rework each shell. And of course, in the comments below, let me know, you know, your thoughts, your opinions, what you're thinking, changes you want to see, things you want to see and hope and wish for season 3, and how you would, you know, remix or change up some of the shells or gameplay that happens in moment-to-moment runs. And for the love of God, Bungie, please, can we just give solos some love? Like, the majority of the players out there, I would say at least half of the player base exclusively plays solos. It's not a game designed for solos. Specifically being a hero shooter, I think that makes solos are much more difficult to balance, because when you do hero shooters, you're gonna have heroes that are just better designed for 1v1 encounters, and those are the shells that are gonna get played the most. Like Destroyer is probably the best all-around shell when it comes to PvP, 1v1 encounters, or even multiple encounters, especially in taking down big bosses and stuff like that. He's got an offensive alt, he's got a defensive passive, and he's got movement abilities. Or secondary, not passive, sorry. You know, you've got Assassin, who you're going to pretty much exclusively see in solos for the main reason that they can sneak in and sneak out without alarming any bots. So there, I mean, like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to POIs and heard absolutely nothing, but somehow everything's been looted, including, like, you know, secured resources, wall safes, everything has been looted, but not a single bot is dead. And so you know an Assassin was there, because it's the only shell that can do that. So you kind of get pigeonholed into playing certain shells if you are a solo player. I think the biggest thing they need to add, now I've seen a lot of people downplay this and act like it's not a priority, and I think it should have been something that was at launch. Nevertheless, a priority. This is something that absolutely needs to come into the game. Is some sort of practice or shooting range. All right, allow up to 3 people in the shooting range. So, you know, you and your squad can go in. Allow for PvP encounter. This is, I mean, I'm basically telling you to follow Apex's practice range. Like, I literally want you to make Apex Legends practice range in Marathon. I think have every single attachment, every single gun, every single implant, augment, all of that just right there at the beginning, that you can hot swap in and out, change, try new things. You can spend 4 hours in the practice range if you want, learning everything. I think that is the best and easiest way for a new or casual player to get more familiar with the game and really see what the game is all about. Especially if you can just, you know, do little 1v1s versus, you know, your buddies and stuff in there. Like, there's nothing but wins, and I can't see it being a huge resource draw compared to some of the other things on this list. I do think that ranked needs a huge rework. Like, I am the biggest ranked player you will ever see. Like, I play ranked in every FPS game I've ever played, and I struggle to play ranked in that. This is the most difficult solo rando ranked fill I've ever tried in my life. It is. I've had little to no success. And I have consistent players that I play with, but none of them want to play ranked. And I get it. Ranked is kind of a messed up system, and it feels like it's either come out big or don't come out at all. And I understand that's how it is with extraction shooters in general, but like, ranked just feels like way higher of a risk than a reward. And I think something needs to change about that. And I might make a separate video on how I would like to, you know, change ranked. I think there should be more points rewarded for killing PvE, completing events, and, you know, killing other runners. I don't think it should be strictly focused on loot value. I think that should play, you know, a key role, but not the only role when it comes to how you score and get up in ranked. I do think that Rook also needs some love. Rook in season 1 was an absolute blast. I have not touched Rook season 2. Not one time. I haven't touched Rook once since, even though this depending on when this video goes live, there may be some Rook videos that come out soon, because I have been thinking about jumping back in. I do think that Rook needs I think similar to how they did the PvP Lite, the sponsored run, but they need to give, that was a great idea, but Rooks didn't really have an incentive to want to go in there. I think the idea of having one team, one squad versus like 8 Rooks, and of course all the other PvE is a fun idea. Like, fundamentally at its core, sounds like a fun thing. Now, of course, you could end up going 3v1 and all these Rooks, or you could end up being 3v8, depending on how coordinated and how much these guys get together. Now, the thing is, they have to use prox chat to coordinate, so you're going to hear everything they say, so they're not as much of an, it's not exactly an 8 v1 v3. And I think the biggest thing is giving Rooks a reason to play that. Give like Rook exclusive rewards for that. Like, it's fun because you get to go on with free kits and you're not risking a lot for the 3-man team, and then Rooks, obviously you're not risking anything. But we need to rework Rook's fucking, like, why did we take claymores away? Why did we disable the Worcester? Basically, like, we took everything that made Rook potentially fun, and you're just like, nah, fuck that. No, we gotta get that fuck out of here. The other thing too, I think would be very fun. Now, this would take a lot of resources, and I doubt we'd see it in season 3. But a Rook rework into basically making it so instead of being a single Rook class, you've got multiple Rooks, and I would basically model them after UESC bots. Make Rooks blend in even more. Give them more of an ambush potential. If you're not going to give them strong weapons, give them the ability to ambush and sneak around the map better than anybody else. Like, they got to be able to, like, assassins can literally sneak around the map better than a Rook can. That shouldn't be the way it is. Rook should be able to almost exclusively avoid PvE the entire time if they so choose. And then the final 2 things that I have on my list. One, I think is something that Bungie would excel at, and I think is something that does need to come. I doubt it's going to come in season 3, but I'm hoping once we get into season 4 or 5 that they can look into making like a campaign light mode. Every season they continue on, add a little bit more to the story, a little bit more to the lore. They don't have to be long. Give us like little 3-4 hour campaigns. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. 3 or 4 hours. Nothing crazy. Not even, maybe 2 hours a season. Okay. But at the end of a year, you've got an 8-hour campaign. That's pretty solid for a shooter. You look at like Battlefield, or you look at like Call of Duty, or Titanfall was about 10 or 12, I think, so it's a little bit longer. But you know what I mean? Right around that 8 to 10 hour mark, I think is pretty reasonable to shoot, even if it's a little bit less because of everything else the game has to offer. I think that's the route you need to go with PvE. Is if you want to go PvE, bring in lore to the PvE. Look, some people love reading through the codexes and diving in and all that. Not me. I'm not a guy. All right, I'm not a reader. I don't really like to read. I'm good at reading. And then finally, I think if you really want to see season 3 boom, there needs to be a renewal in the marketing push. And I think that, get the community back involved, get some streamers back involved, like, go ahead and make a new, almost like a relaunch. Maybe season 3 isn't quite the time, but I'm getting pretty close to do or die with this. So I hope, I hope they decide to go that route, because I gotta say, like, more so than any game I've ever played, ever been in, like, the zeitgeist with, and really dove deep into, like, I've never seen a game receive so much hate. Like, I don't understand. I get some of it. I understand where some of it comes from, some bitter Destiny players, and I get it. Totally understand where they're coming from, but like, it seems like so much people, like, you can see, like, people don't seem to remember that, like, most accounts are linked and stuff, so you can see, like, these Redditors, you can go in and find their Steam accounts and see that they've never even played Marathon yet. They're sitting here just shit posting thread after thread after thread. Like, it's also the only game I've ever seen that has multiple hate thread on Reddit. That's wild. Like, I genuinely typed in 15 other games hate, or hate, and then fit, like, different combinations, and I couldn't find them. Marathon, there's 3. Just 3 it's wild. And the number of shit posts and comparisons to Concord and all these things, it's like I've never seen a community so driven on seeing a game. And to me, why would you ever root for anything to fail? Why would you not just root for something to improve, grow, be better? Sure, learn from mistakes, absolutely. Take accountability, 100%. But to sit there and just root for a game and a studio's failure, like, I understand being pissed off at executives and higher ups, but the thousands of devs that poured their blood, sweat, and tear, their heart and soul into the games they make, those are not the people you should be rooting to fail. I'm just asking everybody out there, you made it this far in the video, let me know in the comments below on your thoughts, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, whether you hate or love Marathon. Let me know. But just be a decent human being and hope for the good instead of hoping for the bad. That's all I can ask. And let's go out there, let's get some runs together. If you're struggling to find games or find runners to run with on a consistent basis, or you're just struggling to figure out how to get into Marathon, come by the Discord. All right, links in the description below. I'll run infinite number of runs with you guys, teach you the game, teach you the ropes, and we'll have a blast. I'm not saying we're always going to win, all right? You've seen me play. I'm most average for a reason, but we will have a good time each and every time. That's a promise. And I hope you like this content. If you do, as always, leave a like, hit that sub button. I really appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming by and checking out the videos. It's been a blast talking to all you guys and growing the community. And I'm having a ton of fun with this game. So, like I said, we'll have a little wrap up here. The main ideas that I want, like I said, the main thing, I think they need to stick to an identity, to a vision, and I think PvP is the focus going forward, in my opinion. I think that they need to follow other industry leads that are doing well. Even like I said, Apex Legends was in the shitter for a minute, but they brought it back. So that's a good one to look at. Rework shells, please, for the love of God, rework some shells. Give solo some actual love. Bring in a practice or shooting range. Rework rank. Give Rook some love, all right, and give some Rook style events and incentives, and give more reasons to play. Because, like, let's be honest, the fact that you can at any point with any shell bring in a free kit kind of makes the Scav Rook class less desirable. Like, if you have nothing in your vault, you can still get a free kit and use any shell you want. So it kind of makes Rook less valuable in that way. Rework the marketing and bring in a little bit of campaign love, a little lore love, a little solo PvE love. Well, I mean, make it a co-op campaign, of course, but that's it. Those are my thoughts. Like I said, I think Bungie's in an identity crisis, stuck between what it wants to be and what Reddit says it should be. And I hope that they look within. And I know it's going to be tough. They just switch game directors and stuff, but I hope going forward that we see a lot of success. Let's finish off season 2 with a bang, and let's go into season 3 with high hopes. And let's keep our fingers crossed, and let's keep getting runs. Escape will make us God, as they say. All right, my friends, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sexy. Go make some average plays. I'm gonna catch you boys on the next one. Deuces.